Spending time with Vandana Shiva on her eco-farm Navdanya in the Dune Valley of northern India is life-changing. Not only is she supporting agricultural traditions and right relationship with the earth, she is instrumental in staving off corporate exploitation to save indigenous seeds and indigenous ways, while reconnecting us with nature's food as medicine, nourishment, and love. I'm here with the extraordinary Dr. Vandana Shiva. We are actually here at her farm, Navdanya, which is a place where they're saving seeds. I'm so honored to be with you.
It's a pleasure to have you
Thank
here.
you. Just want to start with asking you a simple question. What would your message be for the world? What would you like people to know?
To not despair,
Oh, good one.
to not internalize fear and hate, which is the conquest of our times, to not feel an artificially created scarcity for a few people to grab what is there on the earth, but for all of us to be engaged in healing the earth and ourselves in the process, and through it rejuvenating abundance for all.
Beautiful. So what inspires you? What keeps you inspired? What keeps you going?
Because I've never taken on the separations which are illusions. I have learnt every lesson from life, and my science comes from there, my activism comes from there, and because life itself is immense, eternal, every time there's an attempt to shrink it, I throw my little bit behind the forces of life to say we're here with love to protect. And that's why I started my journey with the mountains and the forests and the Chipko movement, which was the movement to hug. And in a way, I hug the earth every moment of my consciousness. I hug humanity every moment. And of course, I hug the immediately close people around me. We are governed by a convergence of two extremely violent powers. The power of the idea that money, mutated into capital, is a creative force and can therefore take real life from the earth, from people, and that patriarchy is a natural order of things where men dominate women. When capitalist patriarchy becomes one, it starts to not only aggravate the violence against the earth, it aggravates the violence against women. Eco-feminism is nothing more than removing the curtain of illusion. The illusion that capital creates, the illusion that there's a hierarchy between men and women, and living the reality of the creative power of the earth, the creative power of women, and our ability to live in harmony and peace, and through that create abundance. Over the last 2 decades of the rule of greed, there's been a partner thinking that has made us believe that we are all intrinsically violent and intrinsically hateful beings. So at the time when globalization and free trade was being imposed on the world, you also get this amazing fat book from Samuel Huntington, which is Clash of Civilizations, that says, I cannot know who I am till I know who I hate. And I feel you cannot know who you are till you know what nourishes you and whom you love and who are the relationships that sustain your life and deserve recognition, including the earth, all her species, all the beautiful butterflies and bees that are doing 1/3 the work. We forget it. Maybe another third is being done by the earthworms, and we think it's such hard work. Let's just learn from these amazing invisible works of nature and take humility. And something people forget is the word humus, which means the soil, is the source of the word human. We are till there is the soil and fertile soil, and the same word is humidity and humility. And all go together, and arrogance and violence, and I can only know who I am till I know he who hate. And in yoga there's this very beautiful breathing exercise, which is so hum. You are, therefore I am.
Oh, that's a beautiful way to describe it. So hum, you are, therefore I am. You also mentioned the other day at the International Yoga Festival that we should do farm yoga. Is that what you called it? Or earth yoga?
Yoga with the and for the earth, yes. Of which farming is a very big part. Yeah.
I like what I think I heard you say, which was we're so willing to do yoga. We're so willing to make the effort. And yet we say when it comes to the earth, oh, that's too hard.
Well, I think it's partly a result of the age of fossil fuels, where our whole mindset was shifted from life and living diversity and all it gives us, and our role in the service of nourishing it and taking care of it. That is work. There's only one way we can give to the earth. Everything the earth gives to us, there's only one thing we can give to the earth: our effort to give her fertilizer through organic farming, our effort to save seeds. This is the yoga of the earth. The fossil fuel paradigm is a fossilized paradigm which says that kind of work should be gotten rid of, because productivity is based on more fossil fuel use, more climate change, more disruption, more pollution, but working is hard. The word for work in physics means the expenditure of energy to work. It's measured in energy terms. And here we are thinking work is undesirable, and they're actually thinking of 99% humanity being useless, being kept busy with gadgets to distract themselves from the crisis they're in and not turn violent.
Right.
The yoga for the earth is a reclaiming of our being, our beings as part of the earth, our calling in the dharma of doing the yoga for the earth. And I have believed on this farm that all we have to do is save the seeds and plant a seed at the right season, and the rest of it is a gift from the earth. We don't have to force agriculture in a production system based on chemical inputs, fertilizers, pesticides, herbicides, glyphosate, Roundup. We're constantly trying to force the earth through instruments of war to produce food. Food production is a gift of the earth. Our real work is the yoga of the earth.
Beautiful. So I love that. One more little thing. I just have an article coming out in a magazine called Spirituality and Health. It's called By the Pinch and the Handful. It's about encouraging people to come back to the kitchen instead of restaurants and cook for themselves by using their own hands. Throw away the measuring cups, use your anjalis and your fingers for the pinches. And I think the timing is amazing, because just yesterday you were talking about this thing of work by hand, or economies that are handmade.
I think we didn't get these amazing parts of our body for uselessness. I think they have intelligence in them. They have the capacity to hug each other in them. They have the ultimate creativity. I think the hands are the most important part of us, because not only are they actually intelligent, they're totally connected to our heads and our hearts. And everything we do with our hands is embodied with love and our creativity and our care. And actually beauty, health, nutrition is all created by hands. Toxics can come from machines and getting rid of hands. Greenhouse gases can come from fossil fuels that got rid of hands. And it's a fossilized idea that removing hands from work is somehow human progress. I think the future of humanity rests on reclaiming our hands, celebrating women's work, which was nullified in the fossil fuel age, celebrating the intelligence in the tip of every finger, in every nerve, in every gut. The gut bacteria know the difference between the diversities of food women create with a pinch and a handful, compared to the monoculture of nutritionally empty toxics that we are burdening the earth's body with and our body with. This, I think, is the future. And it's only the hands that allow us to give back to the earth. Everything else we take, we breathe, we take the oxygen from the trees. Everything else we take. But when we protect the earth, serve the earth, cook the gifts of the earth and make them into our body, that's when the hands come into play. Everything else is war against the earth and our bodies. Everything else is violence. Love and care comes in these hands.
That's so beautiful, my goodness. You did speak a little bit about the women and how much you've learned from these rural women, farming women. Can you just elaborate on that just a bit?
You know, my physics I learned in universities. My quantum theory I learned in the University of Western Ontario in Canada. But all my ecology I have learned from rural women. Women of Chipko, the movement to hug, again you need the arms, came out and said, we're going to hug the trees, you can't cut the trees. That's how the mountain forests here were protected. And I joined them as a young woman 45 years ago. Everything I know about ecology came from them. The connection between our rivers and our forests, the connections between women's work and the protection of those forests. From women, I have learned everything about the biodiversity in our agriculture, about the seeds. I remember when I started seed saving, I'd go to a village and I'd ask the men, do you have these seeds? Because I'd always carry a book showing different crops. And the men said, no, we stopped growing that long ago because they're growing potatoes or soya bean. And I'd keep going into the village and sit with the women and say, of course we have it because that's real food.
Beautiful. Do you have, just one last thing, do you have something you can tell us about what is it that we can do? What's the call to action? What can we do really to support the work you're doing?
I think food has become the place where the worst harm to the earth is being done and the worst harm to our health, the worst harm to farmers. 75% of the planet's destruction, whether it's soil or water or biodiversity, 50% of greenhouse gases going into the atmosphere coming from the bad food system that is also responsible for 75% chronic diseases that are coming from eating junk, eating poisons, eating food that has no nourishing value. This is also the system removing small farmers from work and destroying women's creativity in the kitchen, making it look like it's liberation, rather than say everyone should be in the kitchen. Men, children, why should little children not know how to prepare a good meal when both the parents in these terrible times have to work limitlessly? Why should the children live on junk food just because so much distress has been created in society? So it's around food. We can reclaim work, we can protect the earth, we can create more imagination. And as we've shifted in Navdanya from measuring yield of empty commodities per acre to nutrition per acre and health per acre, to creative work per acre and real wealth and well-being per acre, this is the shift that is accessible to each of us. And then when we work together and collectively, we realize we can change this huge system. Because how do we change the big agribusiness? By joining hands with the farmer and saying, I will know what I'm eating and I will know the farmer who's growing it. And that means not only building new human communities that are living a caring economy, but through it becoming our true human selves as Earth citizens and becoming members of the Earth community. These look very big shifts, but they are embodied in extremely small, local, concrete actions in our everyday lives.
Amazing. Dr. Vandana Shiva is you truly are a giant of holistic thinking.
You're a little person, taking my little work.
To me, as I said to you before, a hero and a guru, and really such a great leader in terms of the evolution of all life, of humankind, and how we live together, and how that supports life.
That's the shift. We are not machines, we are evolution embodied.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much.